Hello chemists, we're going to take a look at basic problem solving in chemistry. Now these rules could apply to other disciplines, but it's a set of rules that helps us to navigate some of the trickier chemistry type problems that we might run into. And after you do it a few times, it just becomes second nature. So the basic idea goes like this. We've got like 5 rules. And the first rule is we want to write down what is given to us in a question. So for example here, I'm just going to put down up here given. This would be the information that would be given to us, and then we want to then write out what it is that we're trying to find. So we want to start here and end up over here. What are we given and what are we trying to find? So that's rule number 1, rule number 2. Okay, and then let's just give this a try here and see what we can figure out. So an example problem would be, say, an automobile. An automobile gets so many miles per gallon. What does that convert into liters per kilometer? So we are given, say, an automobile gets 35 miles per gallon. So I'm going to say 35 miles per gallon. And what we're trying to find then is going to be liters or kilometers per liter. So kilometers per liter. Kilometers per liter. Okay, so that's rule number 1, rule number 2. And then rule number 3 is we want to write down any conversion factors, any conversions that we might know. And we're going to try to go from miles, which is distance, to kilometers, which is distance, and gallons, which is volume, to liters, which is also volume. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know how many miles there are in a kilometer or how many liters there are in a gallon. I'd have to look that up. And on a test in my class, I wouldn't expect you to memorize that. I would give you that information. So what these conversions look like would be something like this, where we have 0.62 miles per kilometer. That's conversion. And then for volume, we have 1 gallon is equal to 3.785 liters. And these are conversions. And it's like 0.62 miles is equal to a kilometer. And so if you take this conversion and you flip it over, it would be the same. It'd be mathematically the same. So like 1 gallon is equal to 3.785 liters. If we flip it over, it's the same thing, it's just a conversion factor. Okay, so that's rule number 3, is writing out all of the conversions that we would know, or in this case, I'd have to look up. Okay, then rule number 4 is going to be taking these conversion factors and somehow multiplying them by what's given to end up with what we want to find over here. And the key to this is to look at the units. Because our units need to cancel out so that way we can go from here over to here. All right, so what does that look like? All right, I'm going to rewrite this over here. I'm going to say I have 35 miles per gallon, and I'm going to use my conversion factors here. I'm going to start out here, and I've got 0.62 miles per kilometer. And I'm going to put that in here. And I want my units to cancel out so that way I get rid of miles, get rid of gallons, and end up with kilometers and liters. So if I put this conversion right like this, I'm going to have miles times miles. And that's not going to work. I need my miles to cancel out. I need to get rid of miles so I can end up over here. So I'm going to take this conversion factor and I'm going to flip it over. So I'm going to end up here going 0.62 miles is a kilometer. Now my miles will cancel out and I have kilometers per gallon. So kilometers. Now I just need to get rid of gallons. And so here's my next conversion factor here. I've got gallons here, and I've got gallons here up on top. Ah, they're going to cancel out. So I'm going to say 1 gallon is equal to 3.785 liters. And now my gallons cancel, my miles cancel, and what I'm left with here now is kilometers per liter, which is what I want. So now I could put this into my calculator and get some number. And when I did this, I got 14.9 kilometers per liter. Okay, and that gets us to rule number 5. Rule number 5 tells us that however many digits we had over here in our given that we started with, we want to have something close to that over here. And this has to do with significant figures. Now, 14.9 is pretty close. I mean, that's 3 digits. This is 2 digits. Pretty close. Now, if I wanted to round this to 2 digits, so I had the same number of digits as I started with, well, then I could say that I have 15 kilometers per liter. Okay, so that's rule number 5. Now, the other piece on this is entering all of this into your calculator. Now, if you were to put this into your calculator, you would take 35 and then divide it by 0.62 and 3.785. But what does that look like in your calculator? So if you go 35 and then you divide that by 0.62 and then divide that by 3.785, you're not going to get this answer here. And so what I would do on this in my calculator is I would use some brackets. And I'd go like this. I would say 35 divided by this. So I put a bracket like this, a bracket like this, and then a times like that. Now that's how my calculator works. What I would encourage you to do is just stop the video right now and try plugging this into your calculator and see if you get this answer, because everybody's calculator is different, and you want to make sure that, like, come a test, that you can do this operation and get this answer.
A few moments later.
Now that you've seen me work through one of these problems, let's try working on one of these by ourselves. Now, a Model Y Tesla is an electric vehicle, and electric vehicles are measured not in miles per gallon, but in watt hours per kilometer. And I thought this might be an interesting conversion to go watt hours per kilometer to miles per gallon, just because these might be units we're not familiar with. But also, you know, when I make these videos, I wonder if I'm doing like miles per gallon, and at some point somebody's going to say, miles per gallon? Oh, who uses gasoline cars? We're all electric now. So, all right, let's take a look at this here. So an electric vehicle, Model Tesla Y, gets 164 watt hours per kilometer. So given here is going to be 164 watt hours per kilometer. And our conversion here, okay, we're going to go from watt hours per kilometer to miles per gallon. So miles per gallon over here. And our conversions on this, we're going to have kilometers per mile, and that's 0.62 miles. So a kilometer is 0.62 miles. And then how many watt hours are there per gallon? And I had no idea what this is. I had to look this up. And so that came out to 36,000 watt hours per gallon. Okay, so here are 2 conversions. Now we have what's given, we have what we want to find, and we're going to have to manipulate these somehow to get the units over here. So this would be a good spot now to pause the video and see if you can't work through this problem. And when you do, you're going to find there's a little twist at the end that I haven't prepared you for, but you know, we'll see how that goes.
Few minutes later.
Now that you've had a chance to work through this problem a little bit, let's give this a try here. So I started with what's given, 164 watt hours per kilometer. So 164 watt hours per kilometer. And then I'm going to try using my conversions here. So I've got kilometers here, and that's on the top, and I've got kilometers here on the bottom. And so those will cancel out. So I don't think I have to manipulate this. I can just put that in as it is. So I'll go kilometers is 0.62 miles. And then over here, I've got my next conversion, and I've got watt hours on the top, and I've got watt hours on the top here. And so to get those to cancel out, I'm going to need to flip this one over. So I'm going to say here a gallon is going to be 36,000 watt hours. And then if I, let's see, if I plug all that into my calculator here, what I ended up with then was 7.35 times 10 to the minus third gallons per mile. And how do I know that? Well, if I look at my units here, I can see my kilometers cancel out, and I can see that my watt hours cancel out, and I'm left with gallons per mile. Gallons per mile. Okay, so these are my units, gallons per mile, 7.35 times 10 to the minus third there. And this might be the spot where you might have stopped and go, wait a minute, something's not right here. We're trying to find miles per gallon, and the answer we have here is in gallons per mile. So it's not the right answer. But it just looks like that it's the reverse, right? If we were to just flip-flop this, we would have the units in the right place. And so here I've got this 7.35 per mile. This is per 1 mile. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to flip it over. So I'll say then that 1 mile is over then 7.35 times 10 to the minus third, like this. And if I take 1 divided by that, I'll get my answer. And when I did that, I ended up with 136 miles per gallon. And oh boy, you know, I didn't put in my units here. This is gallons here. This would be gallons there. Okay. 136 miles per gallon would be the units on this. And boy, that's a lot of miles per gallon. I wish my gas-powered car did that. So if you came up with this answer right here, that's fantastic. You know, pat yourself on the back. I didn't prepare you for that. I didn't show you how to do that, but you know, nicely done.